Welcome to my channel Shadows of History. The girl who came back alone. The cursed one became the one who broke the curse. The town called her cursed when she rode back alone. 30 years later, they begged her to save their children from a blizzard. Fort Laramie, 1856. The morning began with ordinary sounds. Breakfast fires crackling. Children's voices drifting through cabins. The rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer. Then came the screams. The raid was over in minutes. A Comanche war party struck with surgical precision, then vanished back into the plains like smoke. When the dust settled and survivors emerged from where they'd hidden, they found 14-year-old Mary Caldwell standing in the center of town, barefoot, silent, her dress stained with blood that wasn't hers. A Comanche horse had brought her back, reins dragging, as if the animal itself knew she didn't belong with the dead. Her family was gone. Her home was ash. She was alive, and the townspeople could not forgive her for it. In a place where death arrived regularly, but survival felt random, Mary's return disturbed something fundamental. The women whispered that the Comanche had marked her. The men avoided her eyes. Children were pulled away when she passed. Survival, they decided, was evidence of something unnatural. They called her cursed. Mary absorbed their fear in silence. She learned to exist in negative space, to move through a community that saw her as a ghost. She cooked alone, mended clothes while whispers tracked her hands, slept in corners of other people's homes because no one wanted her close, but guilt prevented them from turning her away completely. The isolation became her education. She learned that fear spreads faster than compassion, that trauma marks you in ways visible to everyone but understood by no one, that being touched by tragedy can render you simultaneously pitted and invisible. So she stopped asking for visibility. She became indispensable instead. She learned to ride bareback, her body anticipating the horse's movements before they happened. She learned to read weather in the behavior of birds, to sense coming storms in the quality of light. She memorized the land, every creek bed and rock formation, every place where water hid beneath dry earth. She slept lightly and woke ready, trained by years when safety felt like a stranger's promise. By her mid-20s, Mary was guiding wagon trains across terrain that defeated men twice her age. She never spoke about the raid. No one dared ask. But her reputation grew anyway, built not on her past, but on her uncanny ability to find safe passage through impossible country. She knew the plains like a language learned young and never forgotten. She found water where maps showed only wasteland. She navigated by stars when clouds erased the moon. Hardship had refined her into something undeniable. Winter, 1870. The Platte River Valley. A blizzard descended without warning, transforming familiar landscape into hostile white chaos. 3 wagons carrying families disappeared into the storm. Search parties formed, but they huddled close to town, waiting for the weather to break. The conventional wisdom was clear. Riding into that blizzard meant suicide. Mary understood what they didn't. Waiting meant burying bodies instead of saving lives. She rode out alone, into wind that erased tracks instantly, into cold that turned exposed skin gray in minutes, into a storm that cared nothing for courage or hope. For 8 hours she navigated by feel and instinct, reading terrain beneath the snow, understanding how desperate people choose shelter when the world becomes unrecognizable. She found them exactly where logic said they would be, pressed into a natural windbreak, hypothermic but alive. She forced them to keep moving when exhaustion begged them to stop. She held panic at bay with quiet certainty. Step by frozen step, she guided them back through conditions that should have killed them all. When she rode into Fort Laramie with 3 families alive behind her, the town fell silent. Different from the silence that had followed her for 14 years. This silence carried weight, carried recognition, carried the beginning of something that looked like respect. The whispers stopped that night. The people who had crossed themselves when she passed now stared with something approaching reverence. The word cursed disappeared from their vocabulary, replaced by words like capable, skilled, and valuable. The girl they'd feared became the woman they depended on. Mary Caldwell guided wagon trains for another 20 years. She never told her story, the one about smoke and screaming and returning alone. She didn't need to. Her actions carried a different narrative, one about transformation, about turning isolation into expertise, about how surviving tragedy can teach you to save others from theirs. When travelers later asked about the legendary guide who navigated impossible terrain, who brought wagons through when others turned back, the old-timers would nod. The girl who came back alone, they'd say. And the cursed one became the one who broke the curse. The lesson she left wasn't about survival. It was about what you build from it. How being marked by loss can sharpen you into exactly what others need when their own losses come. They feared her survival once. In time, they learned survival was the least remarkable thing about her. Thanks for watching.